Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. If this is your first time here, I would love to introduce myself. My name is Georgina. I'm a 26-year-old mum to two. I have a 2-year-old boy called Rory and then an 8-month-old girl called Ellen, who is just currently just having some fun with a box of heroes, really. She's in a real stage at the minute of loving like emptying boxes and stuff, so I kind of just thought that would keep her quiet for a bit. Lots of noise going on all round, just a good sensory experience. So I always talk about weaning today because I always felt like it was a really overwhelming minefield. Just as you start to think you're getting the hang of this whole motherhood thing and you're starting to know what you're doing, then they throw in weaning at 6 months and you have no clue. So I always found it really overwhelming, so it's like a comprehensive guide of traditional weaning, what it is, how we did it, some tips I picked up, and just kind of our experience really. So with Rory, we started weaning a little bit earlier. We started weaning at 5 months, obviously recommended that you wait until 6 months. I would say from personal experience to wait as close to 6 months as possible. Let me just grab her. Yeah, from personal experience, I would say to wait until as close to 6 months as possible. With Rory, he was 5 months and wasn't quite ready at 5 months, and then with Ellen, she was 5 months 3 weeks, but bearing in mind she was a week overdue, so she was technically 6 months, and it was a way more enjoyable experience. She was ready, and I think that's the main thing, that when they're not quite ready, even if you think they're ready, like because they're showing signs of being interested in foods and stuff, they when you start to wean, won't like open their mouth and then they'll push it out and they don't have the swallow reflex there yet. Whilst with Ellen, when she was 6 months, she kind of knew exactly what to do. She knew. She'd like open her mouth straight away. She never spat food out, she'd just swallow it all. She was way more interested in what you were doing, and she just seemed a lot more prepared for it. Whilst with Rory, it felt like you were constantly trying to like battle food into his mouth, and he just wasn't interested until he was 6 months. So both kids, I went down the traditional route. With Rory, it was more just because I didn't know anything any different. I didn't know anything about weaning, so I was just kind of following my mum's lead and what she knew. Obviously she was the person that was educating me about it, so she traditionally weaned me and my brother, so she was kind of my educator, so I didn't really know any different. And then when we started moving on to like finger foods and stuff, that was where Rory really came into his own and really enjoyed it. So he started doing baby-led weaning, and like putting all food, like basically I would feed him anything and he would just feed himself, and we stopped using purees. So with Ellen, I wanted to go down the baby-led weaning route. When she got to 6 months, she didn't quite have the hand-eye coordination there yet. She needed to be spoon-fed. So I find baby-led weaning like a really funny term, because technically baby-led weaning is when they're doing the hands to mouth and they're feeding themselves. Well, actually, if you think about baby-led weaning, like Ellen baby-led me to traditional weaning, if that makes sense, like because she just wasn't ready for baby-led. She's only just kind of nailed the like hand to mouth coordination, like she's only just started to get finger foods and stuff and to be able to feed herself. It's still not perfect, like she still needs a lot of help, and she still definitely thrives on being spoon fed. This video has very kindly been sponsored by Organic. Organic is a baby food brand that we've been using ever since Rory was a baby. We absolutely love them. They're a brilliant brand to start to use to introduce finger food. All of the Organic finger foods are baked. They do not fry anything. They do not fry their corn puffs. They never contain any nasties. If you were to flip the packet over on any Organic product, you would recognise all of the ingredients. They never really have that many in them, which is always a good sign, and it would be like 80% peas, 20% corn. All of the Organic foods are made from the best organic ingredients, which I think is really nice. It's really hard to find like an affordable, accessible brand. Anywhere you go, you will find Organic. So if you went to like any supermarket, any retailer, if you go to the garage, you'll sometimes find Organic foods in there. Like they're like #1 finger food kind of. I always find them really easy to find and get hold of, and it's really hard to find like a good organic healthy brand for your kids that, like I said, is affordable and accessible. There is also the Organic's no junk food promise. All products come with this promise, and it means that there's nothing unnecessary added into the products. So of course, like no added salt. So, good signs to know that your baby is ready to be weaned. First of all, you want them to be able to sit up and to hold their head straight. That's a really big one. And then for our personal experience, babies start to show like a real interest in whenever you're eating. If you're eating like, I don't know, a yogurt, sometimes they might like flap their mouth, they might try and grab the food. They will just start to like really watch what you're doing and whatever you're up to. Rory, you're pulling my hair. And then obviously you want to make sure that your baby can swallow food, like we discussed before. That just makes everything so much easier, so much more enjoyable. There's much less chance of any like gagging, because they kind of have an awareness of what they're doing. They're not just taking food in without realising. So first of all, I want to start off with some weaning essentials and things that are going to make your life a lot easier. So obviously you're going to want a high chair. Our personal favourite is the IKEA Antelope high chair. I just find it it's the most affordable, really basic, really like no bells and whistles high chair, and I absolutely love it. It's so easy to clean. We've had like a really like expensive nice high chair that did loads of like cool things, and it was a nightmare to clean up afterwards. The IKEA Antelope one, you just kind of wipe it down, it's really easy. So next you're going to want some spoons. I personally with Rory just bought any spoon that I could find, and then with Ellen I found that we have our favourites that we gravitate towards, and they have like a narrower spoon head, if that makes sense. So the ones that we really like I have linked down below. And then another essential which you will thank me for so much are bibs with arms. Obviously you can have just like the normal bibs, but they only come down to like here, so if there's any like extra spillage they're going to go on your clothes. As they get into finger foods, they're going to be feeding themselves and making their own messes, and you will thank me so much for having bibs with arms. Most baby foods seems to be the like orange colour that you just can't get out of clothes. It's really hard to get them out, so you will thank me. When it comes to bowls, don't overthink it too much, just get like a normal standard bowl. You'll be using them for absolutely ages. We still use all of Rory's bowls that I bought for him when he was 6 months old now, and he's obviously 2. And then another one that you're going to want to pick up are ice cube trays. So when you're first making purees or having purees, your baby only eats like tiny amounts, and then you're going to want to freeze up the rest of it. So whether you're making your own and you want to just freeze it down, or whether you're buying purees in, your baby will only have like a third of it, if that, so you're going to want to freeze the rest of it. Okay, so where to start with weaning your baby? So stage 1 is having like the smoothest of smooth purees that are really easy for them to consume and swallow. You're going to want to start with 1 meal per day. I always like starting with breakfast, and the reason I like to start with breakfast is because if they're going to have any kind of reactions or anything like that, then you're going to catch it throughout the day. You're not doing it at dinner time and then putting them to bed, if that makes sense. That's personal preference, so I don't think it matters too much when you decide to start, but I found breakfast was easier. Breakfast or lunch was easier for me personally. If your baby is struggling with the whole grasping of a spoon thing, Organics recommend in this really handy booklet something called Finger Pop Puree, which is where you grab a pot or a bowl of brightly coloured food or vegetable puree, and you kind of sit opposite your little one. You show your baby how to suck the puree off your finger with a loud popping noise, so, and then you do the same with each of your fingers until the puree has disappeared. So a good way, if they're not getting the spoon thing, is to put the puree on your finger and then obviously help the baby eat it off your finger, and then you can kind of help the baby do the same thing with them. So you could put the puree on their finger and then get them to learn to like suckle the puree off their own finger, and that is also great to help kind of promote the hand-eye coordination thing and getting them ready for finger foods. So it is recommended that with puree you start off with veggies. However, I think the jury's kind of out on that one. It's recommended that you start with veggies because you don't want your babies to get a sweet tooth, but from personal experience I started weaning Rory with veggies and he definitely has a sweet tooth. And also if you tried milk or like formula or breast milk, they're both like of the sweeter side, so if they're going to get a sweet tooth they're probably going to get it from the milk, not from how you wean your baby. So for me personally, I started off weaning Ellen with like carrots, and that's a really good starting puree, a really good source of vitamin A. In fact, any kind of orange coloured vegetables, so sweet potato, butternut squash, carrots, really good source of vitamin A, which is a massive one to help babies' development and help them fight off infection. So especially around this time of year, it's a really good one to start with. I like carrots as well because you can buy a big bag from any supermarket for like 50p, and it makes a huge batch of puree that you can then freeze down. It's a good one to mix in with other things, so it kind of is a stronger flavour. So if your baby gets on really well with carrot, then you can add in other things like apples, spinach, peas, and it doesn't kind of overdo it. It still kind of keeps its carroty flavour. Like any form of fruit vegetable is a good like bulkier puree. Another good thing to have pureed is kind of any form of green vegetables. Obviously they're going to be a great source of iron. So Brussels sprouts, kale, spinach, what else? The peas, all really good sources of iron, and they're all really nice ones to add in. Kale is a really good one to add with pears, and then the pears kind of offer more of the flavour than the kale. So yeah, you don't want to be dropping any milk feeds until they're about 9 months. That's when you want to start thinking about it. I'm a firm believer that food for one is just for fun, so I wouldn't overly worry about how much your baby's getting. Adding purees into the mix is just a good way to make sure that you're adding extra nutritional value basically. As you move on to stage 2 of weaning, you want to start making things a little bit lumpier, so now is a really good time to start making up whatever you are eating and having that. So I would start off, if you're adding in meat, start by keeping it as pureed as possible, so keep it smoother, and then slowly start to like lessen up dicing it, if that makes sense. So spaghetti bolognese is a really good one, or you can start to like chop it up and feed it to your baby like that. Just really quite finely chop up this spaghetti, and then start to help your baby with like the chewing motion. And then the third stage of weaning is where you want to start to introduce finger foods. So a really good way to start with finger foods, as recommended again by Organics, is to do something called matching pairs, which is where you would give puree, say for example like broccoli or carrots, or broccoli and carrots, and then you would offer them like steamed broccoli and steamed carrot. It's probably better to do one flavour at a time, and then you're offering them the 2 different textures of the food and getting them like introducing 2 different textures. Finger foods are a great way to help babies with so many developmental leaps. It helps them with like grip, grasp, how firm you need to hold things, how loose you could hold things. It helps them learn about weight balances. Obviously if you're like lifting something, getting it into your mouth, you're having to learn how to lift, and then what strength you're going to need. It's a great way to start learning, like teaching them how to chew, different flavours, different textures. It's a whole new sensory experience for them. If you are weaning on the go and you want like fast finger foods, then the Organics range have so many. They've got the apple and cinnamon rice cakes, which are just like out of this world. We always talk about these, like if we go on like a mum friend date, everybody kind of brings them up and how good they are. Like you'll find you'll start eating them. The pea puffs are the best starting one, I think. They are a really nice shape for your baby to hold. They are quite long, so your baby, if they're like starting to learn how to adjust to where to bring the food to their mouth, that's a great one. Another brilliant one are the carrot puffs. That's a firm favourite with all babies. I've never met a baby that doesn't like the Organics carrot puffs. My toddler still absolutely loves them. They're like a good alternative to like cheese puffs basically, like there's no nasties in there, so they're kind of getting the like treats. My tips with weaning are to be really patient. It's quite a big thing for babies. Obviously they're just used to milk and sucking, whether you're breast or bottle feeding. It's a whole new world for them. Suddenly you're giving them all different flavours, textures, smells, temperature, and you're sitting them in a seat and you're giving it to them from a spoon. So it's a big thing for them. I would take it really slow, and also the same again once they've grasped weaning and you're introducing finger foods. That again is a whole new thing. Again, there's different textures, different smells, just everything's a whole new thing. They're having to learn to bite, they're having to learn to chew, swallow. So take it slow, don't get impatient, don't compare yourself to anybody else. Again, especially with weaning, you might see something on social media where a baby's doing really well with weaning and your baby's still not quite there yet, but you don't know how long other people have been weaning for, you don't know how they've started, and babies all take to things differently. They'll all get there eventually, so just don't worry too much, don't compare yourself. Another tip with weaning is just to make it fun. That was something that I really struggled with. I never found it fun with Rory, and then with Ellen I've just taken my time a little bit more, not over stressed about things, and just allow her to enjoy the experience instead of worrying about how much she's getting, whether she's eating it properly, whether she seems to be grasping the concept of weaning. Like I said, it'll get there eventually, so my tips are to just introduce new flavours, take it really slow with them, and then offer them like whatever you're giving them, even if it's like a yogurt, put a little bit on the high chair tray just for them to like feel it, have fun with it, make it like a messy play experience, embrace the mess as well. That's a big one. All mess can be cleaned, you know, I know it does get everywhere, but all messes can be cleaned, and it's just more fun for your baby to have a more enjoyable experience with food than it is to stress about making a mess. So to make a puree, I would recommend starting with one vegetable. So say you're having carrots, what you want to do is peel them, chop them up, boil them, and when they're all soft then you want to drain them. I would keep the water set aside and then get your carrots, obviously put them however you're blending them. You could use one of those big fancy like baby puree making blending machines. I personally think they're a big waste of money. I wouldn't bother. I would get either like a Nutritional blender, or like, my favourite thing that we use is the like soup blendy things that are like, they're like £10, and that's what we've used to make all of our purees. And I would start to blend it, and then you want to add your water that you boiled your vegetable in, because it's going to be called like boiled water, so it's going to be sterile. You want to add that slowly to your vegetables to like get everything smoother, and then if you're doing like a bag of carrots, that's going to make a huge amount of puree. So then you would just put it in ice cube trays, leave it to cool down, and put it in the freezer, and then mark it up afterwards. So you want to, like, once it's frozen, pop them out of the ice cube tray and then just put them in like a freezer bag and just mark it up as when you made it and whatever it is. So our personal experience with weaning Ellen has been a much more enjoyable experience than it was with Rory. I obviously know what I'm doing, so I feel much better about it and way more confident. So Ellen definitely has more of a savoury tooth, so she's always loved kind of root vegetables to start off with her first purees, and then as we've progressed she definitely prefers like savoury foods like spaghetti bolognese, cottage pie, roast dinner. The girl loves a roast dinner just like me, and she does like texture, so it didn't take long for her to get bored of smooth purees and want for her food to have a little bit more texture in it. So like she really likes eggs, scrambled eggs. She absolutely loves scrambled eggs. She likes baked beans. So those two mixed together, she just loves the texture involved in that. That's definitely like a firm favourite. The thing that she's most adverse to is a banana, which is so funny because Rory loves bananas, but she just can't stand banana no matter how much I make it, whether I do it like as a finger food, whether I do it mix with something else, whether I'd mash it up with some milk. She's just not bothered about bananas at all. Weaning has been a much slower process with Ellen though. It's taken her a long time to kind of get to grips with it. I would say it's only now at 8 months old that she is really kind of on board with weaning. Like today for example, she was crying earlier and I couldn't quite work out what she was crying for, and then I realised that it was for her breakfast. She'd had a milk feed, and normally she would like be fine on the milk feed, and like I said, the food before 1 I would just treat it as fun, and then after she had like her porridge she was much more settled and much happier. So she is starting to get really interested in food and be more engaged with it. Before, again today for lunch, she had quite a bit of lunch, whilst before she was having very small amounts and then getting fed up and bored of it. So it's only now 8 months that she's starting to treat things more like a meal and actually being way more interested, which like I said ties in with dropping your feed around 9 months. She's starting to treat food as the substitute for her milk. So that has been challenging, obviously because I weaned Rory a little bit earlier. I don't have the same timeline, so I was worried because I thought she should be in a better place than she is, when actually it kind of coincided. When it comes to finger foods, we have started her off with the organics pea puffs, which she really likes. They're a really nice shape and really easy for her to hold, and then slowly moved on to the organics rice cakes. I feel like I'm raving about these way too much, but they are so good. They're a really good one just for babies. Like I said, with teething at the minute, she's just loving them. They're much more convenient to give to them. They're really handy to have out if you're at a loss, just to like take snacks, please take snacks, just to make your babies happier, but she loves them. So I hope that kind of ties up any questions or queries you had about traditional weaning. I hope it doesn't seem quite so overwhelming now. It is very, very daunting at the start, but it will be a fun, enjoyable experience for you and for your baby. It is something that you should kind of take in your stride, embrace, do it the best you can, enjoy the mess, take your time, and just accept the new stage in your baby's life. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know about your baby's experience, what foods they enjoy. I read all of my comments. I love to read and hear what you guys are up and how your experiences have been, so please do leave a comment and let me know. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.